Good morning, everyone. Okay, so today's text is Ephesians chapter 4. So let's take a look. And he gave the apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, the shepherds, and teachers. These are basically official leaders in the church. I think different types of leaders that people talk about, that churchmanship class professors would like to kind of expound on, and things like that. But basically, these are the leaders. And the common perception of church or ministry, I think this passage really challenges, is that these are the official leaders and they do ministry. And the rest of the Christians, well, we just attend. It's something that our church talks about a lot. Not just our church, but really this was the call of the outcries of the Protestant Reformation, the priesthood of all believers. And it really comes from many passages, but this is one of them. That it's not just the leaders who do ministry and where the rest of the church simply attend. The leader's job, actually, in verse 12, is to equip the saints for the work of ministry. Who are these saints? It's basically a shorthand for all Christians, right? So for what? Equip the saints for the work of ministry. So the leader's task is to actually equip and to train up and to raise up the Christians so that they do the ministry. It's not just the official leaders. And what is this ministry that we're talking about? It says, for building up the body of Christ. That's just another parallel of work of ministry for building up the body of Christ. I think it's really popular among Western Christianity, I guess, in America in particular, to define ministry as however we would like it to mean. To say, well, everything is ministry. Everything is sacred, so every work is ministry. My job is my ministry. My family is my ministry. When I give my artistic expression, it is ministry, or I can consider it my ministry. When I go camping by myself, I've actually heard this line of thinking, even from like church leaders, some church leaders. When you go camping by yourself, you are doing ministry, because I am ministering to myself. You can do ministry all alone, people said, and other people in the car didn't really agree. Other pastors didn't agree, but anyway, there's that kind of thinking. I think we have to actually be careful and be discerning about that kind of thinking. We should know that we're not actually free to redefine ministry in however we would like it to mean. The primary and the biblical definition of ministry, of what it means, is to build up the body of Christ, is to build up the church. That's the primary way in which we should think about ministry. Also, verse 14, it talks about spiritual immaturity, to be a spiritual child, that we should no longer be children, right? It means that you're tossed to and fro so that's what the description, right? You're tossed to and fro by the waves and carried by every wind of doctrine, by human cunning, by craftiness and deceitful schemes, right? So here's the picture I would like to kind of draw. So here you are, but then you're not actually just standing firm. You are, this is your hair, I guess. Right? There's waves going back and forth, right? Tossed to and fro. And the wind is like blowing you and back and forth in every direction, right? The waves of cultural expectations, the wind of, fad doctrines, whatever you see or hear on the internet, by human cunning and spiritual schemes of the devil. You're just being tossed back and forth. And this is the picture of a spiritual child. This person right here is a spiritual child being all shaken up. But I think we actually have to admit that there is a part of us that is really immature in this way. And we should not think that we're so strong and so mature as to be totally beyond this picture. The waves and the winds do shake us, they do confuse us. So what's the solution? How do we become mature then, so that we may no longer be children? How do we do that? Well, the popular answer to that question is that we remove ourselves, that we be alone, so that we can find out what we're made of. And that's how you develop your own convictions, people think. And that's a very common answer. Well, what does the Bible say? It turns out it's exactly the opposite answer. It says, rather, speaking the truth in love, we are to grow up in every way into Him who is the head, into Christ, from whom the whole body, joined and held together by every joint with which it is equipped, when each part is working properly, makes the body grow so that it builds itself up in love. So, what is this? It's to be joined and held together into the body of Christ, into the church. So, how you become strong is actually to be deeply integrated into the church so that you're actually held together in a web of relationships so that when the waves and the winds come, it's the people of the church that hold you steady, that hold you in place, that you're not tossed back to and fro. And that's even when you don't have the strength. And oftentimes we don't. Many times we don't. Right? So that's the biblical, I guess, not a diagnosis, but a prescription of this problem, this immaturity. That's how we're supposed to mature and grow strong. It is not by removing myself or yourself from people or from the church to somehow grow your own convictions. It's almost exactly the opposite of what the Bible prescribes. What are we supposed to do? As we speak the truth in love, and you can't do that by yourself, to one another, we are to grow up as each part is working properly, as we cooperate to build up the church. It makes the body grow so that it builds itself up in love. Right? So as the body grows, meaning as the church grows, the members of the church grow. Sort of like a physical body. As the body grows, the members grow. And I think this is something that we ourselves have experienced. Many of us have experienced in our church, and I think we need to kind of keep that in mind as we think about how we are to develop our own convictions and grow spiritually so that we're mature. So we need to actually build into the body, build into the church. And as the church grows, we can grow. And that's the biblical answer, and I think that's something to think about. All right. See you later. Bye.